idea has been used to build a concurrency DSL that guarantees safe usage of resources and a pretty printer whose output is guaranteed to be grammatically correct. And this type-based approach to correctness has recently been applied to creative domains. For instance, in the context of music, there is a line of work on enforcing the rules of harmony and counterpoint as dependent tags for refinement types. And in the context of textiles, there is an attempt to formalize the constraints on the construction of sewing skills using quantity tag theory. Building on these studies, I would like to develop a type language for creativity in general. And I see at least two benefits of having such a language. First, the language would serve as a common language for creative domains and making it easier for people in different creative fields to collaborate with each other. And second, the language might provide some new insights into the design of general programming languages because the unique needs that arises in creative domains is likely to lead to new designs that have never been explored before. So, to develop such a language, there are two main questions to answer. So first, what kind of rules do creative domains have? And second, how can we represent those rules as types? To answer the first question, I have looked at 3 creative domains covering music, textile, and dance. And my observation is that all these domains have hard rules and soft rules. So let me go through the 3 domains one by one. So we start with music. In music theory, there is a method called species counterpoint that is used to combine multiple melodies. And counterpoint has a set of rules that ensures the well-soundingness of the resulting music. For example, in the simplest form of counterpoint, called first species counterpoint, all intervals used in the music must be consonant ones, where consonant intervals include the union, third, fifth, sixth, and octave. So this third interval on the left is good, but the second interval on the right is not good. And also, it is said that imperfect intervals are preferred to perfect ones, where perfect intervals are fifths and octaves. So the fifth interval there, we can use that when writing counterpoint, but it is not considered as good as a third, for instance. So we can see that counterpoint has hard rules and soft rules. And we next look at textile. So there is a style of Persian rugs that features this kind of spirals. And if you observe the rugs carefully, you will see that these spirals are constrained by certain set of rules. For example, spiral radius must have a consonant distance. So the spiral on the left is good, but the one on the right is not good. And also, spirals usually have 2 to 3 layers. So that spiral on the right is probably not very good. So again, we have hard rules and soft rules. Now we move on to dance. In a ballet class, we do a series of small exercises called bar exercises to warm up our body. And to make these exercises feasible and interesting, ballet teachers usually follow certain rules
when sequencing motions. And as an example of these rules, jumps must not happen from a non-flat foot, because when the foot is like this, it's very hard to do a good jump. And when one of the legs is flat, the other leg usually leaves the floor like this, or otherwise the motion will be a bit too boring. So ballet has hard rules and soft rules as well. Okay, so with these rules in mind, we discuss how to design a programming language where we can enforce those rules using types. So there are two design criteria for this language. So first, the language has to reject works that break hard rules, but accept works that break only soft rules. And this guarantees the minimum quality of composed works while leaving room for creativity. And second, the language must be able to express the degree of correctness. This degree information can be used to rank composed works, and the ranking can be used to provide some kind of creativity support, like code suggestion and synthesis. And to meet these criteria, it is crucial to design an appropriate type system. So my current idea is to allow a type to have an optional refinement. And this refinement consists of two predicates, one encoding the hard rules and the other encoding the soft rules. And furthermore, I augment the typing judgment with an additional component D, representing the degree of correctness. And this degree can be the rewards for satisfying soft rules or penalties for breaking soft rules. And the degree of an expression is calculated from the degrees of its sub-expressions. And this would lead to a type system that looks like an effect system. So that's the general idea. And let me next demonstrate how this typing works in the context of counterpoint. So we start by defining the type CP interval, representing the intervals used in counterpoint. So in this type, we have interval as the base type and consonant as the hard predicate and imperfect as the soft predicate. And suppose the reward for using an imperfect interval is defined as 3. In that case, this third interval inhabits the CP interval type to the degree 3. And the fifth interval in the middle inhabits the CP interval type to the degree 0. And the second interval on the right does not inhabit the CP interval type to any degree. Okay? And using CP interval, we define the type of counterpoint, CP, as a list of pitch CP interval pairs. And then this music here will inhabit the type CP to the degree 15 because we're using 5 imperfect intervals. So these are my current ideas. As a next step, I plan to look into more creative domains and see what kind of rules those domains have. And then after that, I plan to design and implement the language and then maybe add some kind of creativity support. I'm also interested in applying the ideas of my creativity language to general programming languages. To wrap up, I propose to compose correct creative works using types. And for the discussion, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on what kind of creativity support we can provide using types, and how the ability of expressing soft rules would be useful in general programming. Thank you.
Okay, we got plenty of time for questions, comments, ideas, discussions, so please come to the mic if you want to speak.
Thank you, that's really interesting. I wonder, so my understanding is that in a lot of creative disciplines, students are first taught to follow the rules.
Yes.
And then they're taught eventually, once you become expert enough at following the rules, then you're allowed to break the rules in some cases.
Right, right.
So I'm wondering what your thoughts are about breaking the rules. In other words, maybe there are some hard constraints, but in certain special situations, it's actually the correct thing to do to break those. Another way of thinking about it is, I previously thought art should be beautiful, and then I learned that actually some art is not supposed to be beautiful. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, this is a great question. So, yeah, like when writing music, so many composers, the famous composers like Beethoven, sometimes breaks those rules. And so to accommodate rule breaking, we can probably prepare like different modes in our language. So in educational mode, all the hard rules are strictly enforced, but in advanced mode, maybe you can break some of the rules, and that's one possibility, I think. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I want to address your second question and discussion. So we have a programming language with both hard rules and soft rules. And it's also useful for general programming where you can optimize for the execution time or energy consumption. That would be an example of the second part. We use genetic programming, but also other algorithms for synthesis. It also applies to engineering, but we decided not having the rewards or penalties, just because then we can use multi-objective approaches, where one is not more important than the other. You want to find the Pareto front, and then the user can decide something. I wonder what led you to insert the rewards, because in creative fields, I think it's even more important not to give weight to things and have more a feel of the solutions more than this solution is 0.75 better than this other solution.
Well, I think it's challenging to like design the calculation of degrees in a way that makes sense or intuitive. Yeah, that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges in designing this language. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi. As a person who enjoys creative writing, I was wondering if you had thought of that as one possible domain for this sort of thing. Like you can have, specific, it's like maybe specific characters you want to include with certain traits, and then that already constrain some other part of the plot, and then you can have this sort of, I don't know if you.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I'm not familiar with creative writing, but maybe you can tell me more about that later.
Sure. Okay. Sounds like an interesting domain.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I actually just had a question of curiosity about one of your kind of future work points, which is, you said one of your future work things would be to apply this to general programming.
Yes.
What are you thinking of as how would that work? What would that be?
I don't have a concrete ideas yet, but traditionally, so whether an expression have this type or not is just 0 or 1 kind of binary thing. But I think maybe if we relax this typing relation to a more like gradual relation, because I think there may be some situations where we want to impose some soft constraints, right? So I just need to find those situations. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
interesting talk.
Thank you very much for the talk. It was very interesting. So I had just one small question about the soft rules you decide. Was there any attempt at, I don't know, choosing some soft rules to guide the art to some direction? If we take the example of music, for example. Just
That's interesting. So what do you have in mind, like guiding?
so the small thought I had was when you showed the score for one example, so the example you showed for the music, I just thought, was there a way to prevent the user to just use the same chord 10 times? So any kind of rule that would softly forbid some bad behavior.
I think that kind of constraints could be represented using rich types, like dependent types and refinement types. And yeah, those rules are generally considered as soft constraints. So yeah,
Okay,
I think that makes sense.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, great stuff, very interesting, and I'd love to see the actual implementation of it when that comes through. But one question I had is, have you thought about having, so we have polymorphic types of types, but it was earlier brought up that more advanced people may want the option to break the rules. But I guess, have you thought about having polymorphic rules so that you could potentially have different rules in different situations?
Yeah, haven't thought about that, but yeah, polymorphic rules or degree polymorphism, something like that. I think that's kind of similar to effects polymorphism, and I'm interested in figuring out how those concepts connect to each other. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is kind of similar to 2 questions ago, where there's a few more rules in counterpoint that you might have, like to do with how things are changing over time. So you're not repeating, so soft rules might be, of course, not repeating the same chord, but then there's a few hard ones like, no parallel fifths, or you might prefer contrary motion and so on.
Yes.
I was thinking you could, how might you be able to do that? Because you can probably think, if you think the operation of, I guess, composing 2 bars together, do you want to add restrictions on how the 2 types can interact there?
Yes, so in one of my previous studies, I actually encoded the rules of like parallel fifth and octave, and in that paper we defined a special kind of something like a list type as a representation of counterpoint, and we encoded the rules on 2 adjacent measures, and that is possible. But this kind of global rules are more tricky than local rules. Yes. Thank you.
Hello, so thank you for the talk. I'm not sure how deep you've been into formalizing the rules of the different art form you presented, but so my question might be a bit ahead, but I was thinking if you try to analyze multimodal art form, and by that I mean something like ballet, when you have both music and dance, and then music follows a certain set of rules, and the dance others, it will be interesting to see if they're coherent to each other or completely separate.
Yeah, that is part of my future work. Yes, but it's interesting to investigate how the different rules from different aspects interact with each other. Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, this is great. I love to discuss this kind of stuff. Have you considered so something that is really common is live coding and things, and so you'll have some existing texture, and then you want to add a piece of music to the existing texture. Could verification of something like that be possible? And then I think in you know, when you're programming in like industry and things, if you have soft rules and you start to run something that violates a soft rule, you could like make a logging error or something. Similar, you know. So I'm imagining something incremental. Have you thought about that?
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Maybe I should consider that.
Yeah, just like live coding kind of uses and things, rather
yes.
than having the whole composition ahead of time.
Thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure, okay.
Any more questions or comments? One comment, I guess, and maybe you have some thoughts on this. It struck me that the soft rules have a lot in common with linting. Have you thought about that connection?
Oh no, not yet, but yeah.
Yeah, often you sort of allow yourself to violate things that the linter is enforcing in ways that you don't violate what the type system enforces. So maybe there's some connections there. I guess another thought I had was sometimes some of these rules, or maybe it's more on the soft rules side, kind of depend on human judgment in some way.
Oh yes.
And I wonder if you've thought about sort of human in the loop type checking or something like that to.
Yeah, this idea reminds me of. So there is a type system called probabilistic type theory that is used in the natural language semantics, and they are trying to use this kind of soft judgments to account for like people's belief or claims, something like that, and maybe there is some connection.
Regarding specifically the soft rules and the idea that sometimes you would want to break them, just a thought, it seems like for certain creative endeavors, it might actually be ideal to almost have a required amount of broken soft rules in a composition, because specifically, like one of the other question askers before, I also like creative writing, and to a certain extent, perfect writing is boring. Writing that uses the exact same style of sentence over and over and over again, it is perfect, it obeys all the rules exactly. It is also terrible writing and should not be produced. So to a certain extent, almost it feels like in some creative endeavors, having all the soft rules met is actually not optimal. So to a certain extent, you almost, I don't know how you would encode it, because which ones you break is up to artistic determination, but it would almost be best, it could almost be useful in times to have, okay, so you have 5 parts, if you will. 2 of them should break a soft rule, the other 3 shouldn't. Like you could almost do something like that. Just playing around with ideas, and it feels like that might be something.
Interesting.
Related, well, continuing from what I just said earlier, I don't know what exactly you did for your like sequential parallel fifths or composing multiple things, but did you consider at any point maybe something kind of like system F, i.e. like type level functions, where maybe you have a function that's takes the previous type and then uses that, binds that, uses that to say, well, if it was a fifth last time, it cannot be a fifth this time, and so on, things like that.
Oh, that is an interesting idea. Yeah, I'll think about that. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Youyou. Let's give the speaker another round.